I'll go ahead and go back in history a little bit for me. I grew up in a trailer park in Omaha, Nebraska. My dad was a bricklayer. My parents had 4 kids. My mom went to college when she was 8, got her first teaching job when she was 13. And I point all of that out to say, A, there was not really anyone in my family, my immediate family, or even my parents' very large extended families. I have 6 aunts and uncles on one side and 8 on the other, that ever studied engineering. Also, on paper, I looked like a poor kid with semi-uneducated parents who got free school lunch. And this impacted me in a couple ways. First of all, I never really had a mentor or somebody who took me under their wing because nobody ever assumed I would do something like this. So I've had the freedom to move along in life, paying attention, asking several people for advice, praying, listening, and making the best choice for me. Also, even regardless of what I looked like on paper, my parents were people who valued education. Obviously, my mother became a teacher. We had to take school seriously at my house. And when I was 7 years old, my dad took me to see The Right Stuff. He's a sci-fi guy. He's where I get my engineering brain. And The Right Stuff, for those of you youngsters, is the Apollo 13 of my generation. It was about the original Mercury astronauts. And I told my parents after that movie, I want to be an astronaut. Now, this was 1983, I think. And that was the year Sally Ride flew, so that was the first American astronaut. My parents would have been well within their rights to say, A, you're female, B, we can't afford to send you to college. Are you crazy? And this was the response to 7-year-old me saying, I want to be an astronaut. Okay, you better study hard. And that was it. So between that support and my ability to sort of go with the flow, I ended up in high school, again, not having any mentorship because the college counselor really wasn't interested in kids like me. So Boston sounded cool. I wanted to study aerospace engineering because my AP physics teacher had talked about engineering, and that sounded cool. So I applied to MIT and BU. I got the small envelope from MIT. And it was one of the best things that has ever happened to me.
Yeah.
So thank you, MIT, for rejecting me. So again, I show up at Boston sight unseen the first day of orientation with, my parents couldn't afford to come down until I graduated. And my mom, when she visited the campus after I'd been here for 4 years plus my co-op, said, I wish I'd visited earlier. I wouldn't have worried about you so much. She met a lot of my professors and saw that it was really a safe place, not just physically, but also sort of spiritually. So anyway, I show up with nobody. So again, I'm walking around just talking to people, enjoying myself, checking it out. And the first week I was here, the person who ran the cooperative education office caught me, talked to me about co-oping. For those of you students, I highly, highly, highly recommend co-oping. I did cooperative education at NASA Johnson Space Center. In between my sophomore and junior year, I moved down there for a year. That not only made me much, much more attractive when I applied for my grad school scholarship, I think, yeah. Weren't you on my committee? Yes. Kathleen was on my committee that selected me. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Networking is also
right. So, and I think you had been the last one before me from BU, and both engineers. So hey. So anyway, it made me more attractive for that, but also for jobs after graduation, and most importantly, my husband was a cooperative education student from Georgia Tech, and we started the same semester. So not only did I get a good scholarship, a good job out of it, I got a spouse too. So co-oping, woo! So yeah, I came back. I did the BSMS program here because I had done a lot of advanced placement classes in high school, and then my junior year realized I wasn't going to be able to afford my senior year. So I applied for the Melville Scholarship, and at that point, I ended up winning it, so I could finish. And the Office of Fellowships and Scholarships head talked to me on the phone, tell me congratulations, and he said, "Hey, have you ever heard of this Rhodes Scholarship? Similar situation, and you'd be a good candidate." And I said, "Oh no, I'm gonna graduate, go to work full time for NASA, maybe do some grad school while I'm working full time." And but thanks anyway. Hung up the phone, and a friend of mine was sitting next to me, and to her credit, she's just quiet for a few minutes. And after a few minutes, I turned to her and I said, "Was that dumb?" And she goes, "Yes, do you know what that is?" So I called him back and said, I'll come talk to you about it on Monday. He said, yeah, I think that would be best. And so then he told me that it was 3 free years in England to study whatever I wanted, and that sounded cool. So again, I went for it. It turned out to be a good fit for me. I'm very grateful for that opportunity. I studied electric propulsion, and specifically erosion due to low energy sputtering in the discharge chamber of a Kaufman ion thruster. And basically, I studied ion propulsion because it sounded kind of sexy. So it was good. It was a good time. And then I came back to work at NASA in 2002. And as Dean Luchin said, most of my time thus far has been spent as a flight dynamics officer. So I went from propulsion for my PhD to trajectory. The flight dynamics officer monitors the shuttle's monitored, past tense, the shuttle's trajectory. And in particular, I spent most of my career on launch and reentry. I did work the Hubble Space Telescope mission. I actually almost missed my baby shower because we were still landing the Hubble Space Telescope a few hours before it, and there was a chance, sorry, not the telescope, the shuttle. The shuttle. There was a chance that we were going to have to wave off again. We had to land at Edwards that day, and there was a chance we were going to wave off again, and then I would have missed my own shower. But it turned out to be good. So my son is adopted from Ethiopia, and he came home at 10 months. And it was actually that weekend we were waiting to hear if we passed our court date. And the first time we didn't. And it was very heartbreaking because there's a lot of waiting involved. And there's a little picture of an adorable little boy who's waiting for us. And I found myself doing deorbit targeting to get ready for the shuttle's landing and realized that that was almost therapeutic. And this, that was where I belonged. And I just had this overwhelming sense of that during that period. I also was the flight dynamics officer for STS-135, which was the last shuttle mission in July of 2011. So I was in mission control when the shuttle program ended. Then I spent 6 months in the engineering directorate where my husband works, finding myself. And then I was asked to come back to mission operations to be a group lead, which is a first level manager for mission planning software group. And as of June, I was asked to move again. So I spent 2 years doing that right when I was figuring out the technological stuff, because it's not my area. I was asked to move to another group, and now I'm with the inventory and stowage officers. I've only been there 3 months, so I still know very little. But I'm still able to manage them. They're responsible for knowing where everything is on the space station and making sure that when cargo vehicles visit, like SpaceX hopefully will tomorrow, everything gets off the vehicle and packed away, and then all the return items get put back on. So that's what my folks are responsible for. Right now, I was asked to go there not for my technical capability, but for my unique leadership style. It was needed in their group. I have some personality traits that are useful to that group right now to help build morale and make decisions that need to be made. So yeah, I'm enjoying learning now.
Thank you, Jenny.